Yo,
What's happening?
I don't put the names up so much anymore, or display names, but you have some gems, so maybe I should start putting them back up.
Yeah,
Tell me again how you feel about the Maple Leafs.
you know what? I haven't really watched much hockey or been a fan since my days at the Sens. But I'll tell you what, I get right up and ready and excited whenever the Leafs have a chance to be eliminated from the playoffs. And they broke yet another record, being the only team in NBA, NHL, and MLB history to
MLB,
lose.
NHL, and
To lose the winner-take-all Game 7 in the first round of each of the last 5 years. So if we had a sound effect, I'd do the big, that or the applause. Or God damn, I love watching them lose, though.
I think is your Facebook or Instagram like death taxes and the Leafs going out in the first round.
Telling you,
the only guarantees are certainties in life.
Yep, there are only 3 certainties, and that being one of them. And you know what? We'll be here in April talking about October, talking about how these fans are already planning the parade for next year's Stanley Cup. It's just like they're glutton for punishment, I tell you. Those fans.
And that's the other thing too, is like each year on paper, and especially this season in terms of performance during the regular season, they continuously get better. But when it matters, it's like just back to square one. So what do? Do you blow it up, or do you like they had the most wins that they had in their entire franchise in one season?
I don't know. I don't know if blowing up or retooling or rebuilding full on would do anything. I truly feel that regardless of the player that you are and the ice that you have in your veins, you playing in that arena, in that market, under the watchful eye of a majority of Canadian hockey fans, unfortunately, the pressure is just it's unsurmountable.
Yeah,
you can't get over it.
And it's not limited just the Toronto market. I've heard that a lot of people don't want to play in Canadian markets because of like this is the game of the country, right? But that is by far, especially with the media, Toronto is hands down the roughest place to play.
People be like, why do you hate the Leafs so much? And I don't have a clear-cut answer other than the fact that I find their fans excruciatingly annoying. I hate that the sports media puts them ahead of every other game. Like if I think if it were a Wednesday night and Canada was in the gold medal match at the World Cup after not qualifying for 30 years, and it happened to be on a Wednesday, and the Leafs were playing in Arizona on that Wednesday, the same night, TSN and Sportsnet would show the Leafs Arizona highlights before the Team Canada highlights, unfortunately. And then the last thing is every time they go out west, they played a couple of years ago, they played Vancouver, and they made it a 4:00 local time so that they could play in the prime time spot of Hockey Night in Canada. And it's like, well, why wouldn't they just be the last, like the game at the end of the night, the second of a doubleheader?
No. It has to be.
Can't have that.
4:00 on a Saturday.
Can't have that.
No.
Anyway,
that's why I know when you have a hockey day in Canada, if it was like every year Ottawa would be in the afternoon. Like that would like clockwork. Ottawa, Winnipeg, Ottawa, Edmonton, Ottawa, Calgary.
Yeah.
But if it's Ottawa and Toronto, it's at 7:00 on a Saturday. And it's likely going to be in Toronto. It won't even be here. Like they all have the hockey day in Canada in Toronto, 7:00 Saturday.
Yeah. So, and then, I mean, we both know how it is behind the scenes at games where Leafs fans are. Unfortunately, you see a lot of crazy stuff that happens. And, it's...
You see the fist? You talking about the fist fighting that was?
Well, but I mean, we've seen firsthand.
Yeah.
We've seen firsthand that kind of thing. But, the one that's just most recently after Saturday.
They're turning on each other.
kudos to that guy though that was not wearing the shirt and just juking and jiving and missing a flurry of punches from everyone.
Yeah, good on him.
But unfortunately, you know what? Fuck the Leafs. Leafs suck. Read it. It's right there. Right there.
There it is. Pointed out.
Oh yeah, right. This is a audio podcast. So those that are watching, I'm pointing at the word that says Leafs suck. I got to remember that.
That's right. YouTube.com/GoVinci. I don't like how, well, I understand it, but I don't like how for the longest time you can create a page, you want to just change your URL, go for it. But when I want to do it, the rules have changed to you need to hit benchmarks in order to do it. So it's stuck with this old, like 15-year-old URL that I have not been able to change until we get at least
not going anywhere.
47 more subscribers. So
the push. You know what? Let's make a goal. Let's bump this thing up by 47 numbers before episode 100. Let's do it. I told a few people at work about the old podcast.
Yeah.
And
listen or watch.
Yep.
Watch so then I can again change stuff. So are you a big fan of Optimus Prime?
Love him.
So Optimus Prime, leader of the Autobots, is getting a nice Lego set.
Oh my God.
That's coming out on June the 1st. It is a Lego set that transforms from
my God.
It's the G1, Generation 1 Optimus Prime. From robot to truck and back.
I'm legit beside myself right now.
Yeah,
I have not seen
1,500 pieces.
It's oh my God, I thought you said dollars for a second. I'd be like, well, that's not happening. It's 1,500 pieces. I gotta buy this. I have to buy this.
Retails for $219 Canadian.
Okay, that's not.
It's not terrible.
Not terrible. Not terrible. Not terrible. It's one of those things, though, right? Do you, the collector in me is like, I could buy it and not open it, and then it would be worth something down the road.
You should get 4. You should get the one that you don't open, keep in the box, and then one that from truck, mid truck to robot.
That's right.
And the evolution of man.
Yeah, it's almost the evolution of the Transformers. That's friggin' amazing.
What we need to do is also it has to include the sound effect as you're doing it as well.
Does it say anything about like there being a sound effect?
My name is Optimus. No, it does not. But you could make it when you do it.
The unfortunate thing with that is 1,500 pieces, or what is it? 1,528 pieces. It looks like.
Yeah, 1,508 pieces. It's also got an 18+ rating. That seems odd for Lego.
I would be done this in one night. It's the unfortunate thing. I'd have to pace myself. We got the Home Alone Lego set.
Yeah, I saw Christmas. That you had that on your.
And we had to do that too. Yeah, we had to pace ourselves. So it was, I want to say it was like 740 steps. And then some steps like had steps within the steps.
Right.
But basically what we did was the 4 of us, we just did 10 steps each time and then pass it to the next person. Then we stopped at whatever it was, maybe 50. So we were successful in spreading it out and not doing it in one go. But this, you can't do that with 1,500 pieces. It was a Home Alone. It was like 34,000 or something like that. It was nuts.
Yeah, the biggest, 2 big sets. I have the Simpson House and the Quickie Mart.
Nice.
Both took, I spaced myself. So it was probably, I could have done it quicker, but I wanted to take my time with it. So it was probably a week for both, like a week each.
I would love
now
to.
They just sit and collect dust.
I would love to be able to afford the Millennium Falcon. That
the Death Star?
Is it the? I thought it was Millennium Falcon. I thought they had one for the Millennium.
Falcon. They have one. They have done multiple Death Stars.
Have they done one for what is the bigger the Star Wars ship for the Empire? And it's like
the Galactic Battle Cruiser or Star Cruiser.
Yeah, it was the one that I can't remember. It's big.
Yeah.
It was big.
Yeah, they've done that.
Nice though, Lego. Like that's pretty awesome. I like how they just they always seem to have different cool, unique shit that they're releasing. You know?
Yeah, they're not hard up for ideas or money,
No,
especially the money part.
no. I'd like for them to, because they have a couple of soccer stadiums. I'd love for them to do a baseball stadium, but it'd be even great if you could just order the baseball stadium you wanted, like the Rogers Center or Minute Maid Park. I would buy it up in a minute, but
yeah, I wonder if they'll do that. Like they obviously made their kits, and then now they do the whole like Lego ideas where they have creators submit ideas, and if it gets enough fan ratings, if they would just like literally have just custom orders,
just like a commission, like you would do with an artist. I would just like a commission for the set, please.
Yeah, like just somebody in the back is just like, well, what if someone wants to make this? This is the build out the prints, and then somebody can order it, and they just throw the pieces in a box and send it off to you.
You ever seen that show, Lego Masters on Fox with Will Arnett?
Yeah, the kids loved watching that.
Yeah. Oliver and Arlo, they enjoyed it. It's good. It's some of the creative ideas that come out of these people's minds is crazy.
Yeah, what was it? One of them where they had like to build a hat and walk down a runway.
And walk down the runway. And then the other
and all had a theme or something.
They had another one was they had to build a structure and the platform was shaking at varying degrees of speed and it had to have
it had to withstand an earthquake. Yeah,
that's what it was, an earthquake. It was cool.
Yeah.
I watched the English one. It wasn't as good.
Parker only cared about the minifigures.
Yeah.
At the end when they put it in the case. Oh, do they get those back?
You can go to the Lego store at Rito and make your own character kits. I think it's like $10 or $15, and they've got it's great marketing. Basically, I guarantee it's just all these pieces that were lost or fell apart or whatever, misplaced, and they put them all together in these bins. So you have like a body bin, a head bin, and an accessory bin, and you just make your own Legos. You can customize them, put them in a little package that snaps together for 3 different ones, and the kids eat it up like candy. At least mine did.
Yeah, we went to the Rito Center just before the Disney store closed, and they went to the Lego store. And that was that.
There was a small part of me though when they were just rummaging through those pieces. I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to sanitize their hands after. Don't you dare touch your mouth or put your finger in your nose. Don't.
I thought it was gonna be like just took you back to your childhood, rummaging through bins looking for a character or a piece. No, he went the other way. I
went completely south. I went southbound and a northbound.
So we are hopefully not making this a trend, but this will be the 3rd episode in a row where we lost another person staple from our child. So Fred Ward. Some of you may not recognize the name. Those watching might recognize the face and would probably pick up the screen grab that this movie is from.
Tremors.
So, from Tremors, yeah. Fred Ward from Tremors. I grabbed a clip from said Tremors, and let's relive some of the great B-movie amazingness that was Tremors.
I don't remember anything about this movie. He's really into that role.
Then back to the classic extras, and they're like one day of rehearsal.
Here's your $30, sir.
Yeah. Just drill on the ground.
And no rhyme or reason.
I wonder what the stage direction was when he grabs the crowbar. Shake it.
Oh, snap. Tomato sauce coming out the road.
And there goes the jackhammer.
I don't remember this movie at all. I just remember Kevin Bacon was Footloose Kevin Bacon. Or shortly thereafter. I can't hear anything though, really. I don't know if you can hear on your side. Brought to you by movieclips.com.
That's right. Ain't no clip like a movie.
Fred Ward.
Fred Ward.
What else was he in? I mean, he's a staple of 80s, mid 90s B-list movies.
Yeah, Short Circuit was another one that he was in.
Right, with Steve Gutenberg.
Yeah, The Goot.
The Goot. What is it? I'm Alive. What is it? Johnny Five.
25.
Johnny
Johnny
Five is
Five.
alive. Steve Goot. So how old was
He was 79.
Fuck.
Oh, playing again.
Wow. 79. Well, I mean, that's a
79.
good life.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You hear too often, in their 60s. We talked about this a couple episodes ago, but 60s, mid 60s, late 50s, even early 70s, but 79, like that's and majority of it's likely that in his prime as an actor, he probably lived a great life, and with that great life came great parties, and maybe he lived a bit of a fast life and still lived to be 79. Great on him.
Yeah, so far there's been no cause of death released. So I guess we'll have to speculate and wonder.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have to do a movie review of Tremors in honor of Fred Ward.
I was just gonna say, how do you not remember Tremors and all the sequels that followed? Because his Tremors 2 was his. Like, no, Kevin wasn't back in it, so he ran that beast.
I have very fragmented memories of Tremors. Like not enough to be like, oh yeah, I remember this scene and this scene. I just remember certain parts of it.
Deep in the well of.
What else was he in? Known for? Oh, he's in True Detective. Interesting.
That's the one. Actually, that's the one. That's one of the many series where people are like, you need to watch this, and
yeah, likewise.
Couldn't.
He was in Corky Romano. Great movie.
He was in Corky Romano. That is correct. I actually saw that in the theater. I'm not proud to say that I did, but I did.
Well, you know what though? The best part of that movie is when he's up at the stand.
Oh, he's all high on coke. Yeah. Any questions?
Yeah.
You question? Yeah.
Oh, Fred Ward.
I should buy a boat.
Fred Ward also made an appearance in The Incredible Hulk. Interesting. And that's really it. I mean, Joe Dirt.
Short Circuit.
Short Circuit.
Tremors.
Naked Gun 33 1/3. Oh, Tremors 14. Yeah. Oh wow. Fred Ward.
Will be missed.
Frederick Ward. Yeah.
All right. You've been waiting for.
Okay.
So background on, again, for those not watching but listening.
Right.
You pulled out a gem based on this poster of a flick came out with 1986?
Yeah, 86, yeah.
Drama rad. It's looking at this poster, it's cycling or dirt biking?
Yes.
BMX. Hometown
biking.
kid on his BMX against the best in the world at Hell Track. The heat is on.
And Hell Track was a real competition.
Yep.
It was filmed in Canada, and I want to say it was Alberta. I want to say it might have even been like Lethbridge or somewhere in southern Alberta, and I can find it and confirm it after. But
so this film stars Bill Allen, Lori Loughlin, Talia Shire, Ray Walton, and introducing Bart Connor and Jack Weston as Duke Best. Great name.
What is your Cochrane, Alberta? It was filmed in Cochrane, Alberta, so I was close, not too far from Calgary. Not far at all, maybe a couple hours, if that. What is your experience with this movie?
Until you mentioned it, I knew not of his existence.
Yes. Okay. Question number 2.
I didn't even know Laura Loughlin was in a movie that was like on Lifetime.
Did I message you in time after I mentioned it where you didn't see the trailer? Are we doing this live?
I have not watched anything. I didn't know Lori Loughlin was in it until I read the poster here.
Oh my
I've been doing my absolute best not to obtain any sort of firsthand knowledge. There's a good chance the trailer I pulled is not even the right one because I didn't want to see anything.
That should have been maybe on me. Okay, that's great.
So I have a link in the slide. Now, you said you didn't hear anything when I played the Tremors clip.
Very faint. It was very faint.
But I have it on here. If not, I can do
Okay.
it the other way, which may be too. We'll do it the other way. Just make sure you click your unmute. I'll do it the old school, so it'll be louder. All right, here we go.
All right.
They say this guy Bart Taylor's gonna walk hell track.
I don't know.
This is it.
It's gonna take a radical miracle to beat this guy.
What's the name?
And we're here for the biggest and most important bicycle motocross event ever held, Hell Track.
Look at those mullets.
Oh man.
You're gonna try to qualify?
I don't want to hear any
Look
more
at
about
that.
it.
Fill out a form on paper. The music, the score is different.
Let's
though.
walk this sucker.
There we go.
You sold me on the killer tunes.
Look at this. He jumps over. Oh,
There it is. Bill Allen, the man.
Billy Allen.
Lou Jones will give local fans something to cheer about.
Wow. Adrian.
4K.
Typical dance party.
Of course. Rad.
Okay. So
lights.
this was a remastered trailer. All of the footage was legit, but they didn't show like the actual score, which is unfortunate. But I am happy to see anyway that they've remastered it for
It's getting the love.
what was it, 2020? But it has everything. It has everything that you possibly could want from an 80s movie. You have the main actor or protagonist that needs to be inspired to do something, who has a hidden talent that only he and his close friends know of, finds a woman that he's in love with and just doesn't know it yet. There's a montage of him and his particular skill. There's the antagonist that's that you have to overcome, and it just
the typical dick who's a blonde, obviously.
of course,
like in Karate Kid.
Karate Kid. Fred Savage's brother in the Wonder Years. I mean, his brother was a dickhead and he was blonde. It's just back in the 80s, people with blonde hair were dickheads.
I also like they got a guy who kind of looked like Scott Baio, but was probably obviously a lot cheaper to get.
Yeah. And maybe Canadian. And I wonder if I feel as though some of the actors were like professional bike riders first and actors second. I don't know that the guys that ride for Mongoose. So Mongoose is the sponsor for the bad bikers.
Yep.
The twins and then the guy with the blonde hair. Their team name is Mongoose. Maybe they're professional bikers. And then the other thing, did you see the other thing they do? Their dance in the high school gym with their bikes. I mean,
as one does.
As one does, for sure. You would be the talk of the town if you did a duet number with a Schwinn in the middle of a gymnasium.
Have to wonder why there is it's intercut with, it's clearly a standard 80s school dance going on.
Everybody, that was the thing to do. I mean,
every movie needed the dance.
Now people just go on Tinder or whatever, dating app du jour to meet people. Back then you actually had to go places and talk to people in person.
Terrible.
I know, it's crazy. And did you see the other thing too? I mean, she had to apply for the Hell Track, filling out a form that he cut out of the newspaper. 80s.
Right,
80s.
newspapers.
80s.
How else would you know what was going on unless you just circled it in the paper?
Yeah, it's not important. I guess I'll just read about it in tomorrow's paper. Everything, yeah. Remember when things were on time delay because of the lack of an internet? It was great. The unfortunate thing is that I can't find this movie anywhere. Every time I go to Walmart or Canadian Tire where they have those, dollar bin for DVDs, and I just can't find it anywhere.
Especially since it's remastered.
Yeah.
And re-released, unless it was just done for that film festival.
Yeah, I saw that being in 2020, but then you know what? COVID hit, and maybe that's what caused the delay in the release. I mean, everybody except for myself is not clamoring for a rad re-release, the Triple R, but I think you'll enjoy it. If anything, we'll have a fun time discussing it.
It's 1860 DVD on Amazon.
Is that it?
You can get it by the 18th, so Wednesday.
Well, then maybe I'll have to order it.
But speaking of movies, I saw this bit of information. So it was, I guess it was a poll. It says, would you prefer to see these summer movies in a theater or in your home? So these are the big blockbusters coming out. And the only one that has, or there's two that actually has a big number of people who would rather see it in the theater than at home is, Thor, Love and Thunder. 77% of people surveyed would watch it in the theater versus at home.
Okay,
next is Jurassic World Dominion, 70 over 30. But I'm surprised Top Gun is basically almost a 50-50 split.
Makes no sense.
Like, of the movies on this list, that is the one I would want to see in IMAX, just big screen.
Yeah, I would
Never doing shit.
I would say the top two, definitely Maverick and Jurassic World, as being you need to see this in a theater.
You notice you're seeing the ones where it's kind of skewed for home are the kids' movies, Lightyear and DC League of Super Pets.
That is odd.
And Minions as well. More people would rather watch it at home, I guess, because then you got to take the kids, right? It's more expensive, possibly.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wonder if it has anything to do with like his personal beliefs and his cult or church or whatever you call it.
People turned off from Tom Cruise versus
I mean
the nostalgia that is Top Gun.
Yeah, or maybe people just were people really clamoring for a Top Gun sequel? Not to say that I'm not excited. I'm excited. I think I started watching the first one with the young one earlier this week. We only got a few minutes in. I showed him the opening scene, but I was like, oh yeah, this was a good movie, but I wouldn't say I was like beating down the door for a sequel. So I wonder if that might have anything to do with it.
I could see that.
But then that being said, every Mission Impossible movie that he does, with the exception of the second one, is amazing.
Yeah, I was going to say that's one of the few, I think, film sagas that got progressively better with each one. With obviously the second one being the exception.
Yeah, it was awful. But he
John Woo at his finest.
Oh, so bad. Like the final fight with the bad guy, it was just awful.
The slow motion, the doves.
Yeah, and like what was it like on the motorcycles?
Yeah, they're like motorcycle jousting almost.
Fucking terrible. Terrible. And
kicking the gun up from the sand and spin kick and
it was awful. Jade and I did a marathon of all the movies,
and
every one we were like, oh yeah, we got to watch the next one, except for number 2. We're like, we're never gonna see that one again. Yeah. Despite what you say or what you feel or think about Tom Cruise as a person or an individual, he is truly like an A-list movie star. Like close to every movie he's put out is amazing. Edge of Tomorrow was good. Well, I mean, I can rhyme them off. Jack Reacher was good. He's a good actor. I was
really surprised with Edge of Tomorrow. I didn't think I would enjoy it.
Yeah, he's a good actor. So, what was the one where he? What was the one? And he had to like go and like check on the orbs, and it was around the same time as Interstellar.
Oblivion.
That one was good with Morgan Freeman. Yeah. That was a good one. So back to that. I don't understand. It makes no sense why people would want to see that movie at home. Maybe
I'd say of
it'd be
all
too-
of them, that's the one. Like that's the one. Again, that's the one I would see out there in a theater.
Maybe it's too loud in the theater,
Maybe.
and they can turn it down,
Yeah.
you know, at home. Who knows?
It's getting great reviews though.
So,
It's
just really
return to the
quickly,
blockbuster.
how perfect of a casting is Miles Teller as Goose's son? I mean,
Oh yeah, he looks just
without-
like Anthony Edwards.
It's crazy. Like without seeing more than the trailer, he
Yeah.
looks like Goose's son. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
If you didn't know, you would say, "Oh, that's supposed to be Goose's son."
Yeah. It's. I wonder if Meg Ryan's going to make a cameo.
I won't say. I will neither confirm nor deny.
Oh, you
Depends on-
okay?
Oh, they've talked about the movie. People who make the surprise cameos and stuff.
Gotcha. Well, I will have to wait and see. When does it open up?
27th,
Oh,
a couple weeks
snap.
away.
Okay.
Sir.
So I've got some time to watch the first one with Oliver.
Yes.
Sweet.
And you can sit through a 2-hour action flick. If
He
it's broken
will.
up.
Yeah, I think he'll be okay. Like I think he'll really enjoy it just because of the dogfighting and just I don't think he's really ever seen a movie with fighter pilots and dogfighting. As I said, like he hasn't seen that kind of movie, so I think it would be an experience for him, which is part of the reason why I want to watch the first one. Like that opening scene where Merlin loses it, not Merlin, Hollywood, I think it was, loses his shit when he's trying to land. Oliver was just glued to the TV.
Yeah.
So
And then you guys from Hot Shots.
oh,
Remember how fun this was? Serious? Now this is a joke.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Hot Shots Pardieu.
Yeah, but they kind of lose their footing with part 2, but it's still. I'll watch it. It's still enjoyable.
Charlie Sheen before 2.5 Men. I'm winning Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, before he lost his way.
Mm-hmm.
And now no one will hire him for any amount of
He's
money.
stayed under the radar, I would say. You stay under the radar long enough, people will tend to forget. It's so funny, society, because I think of like Michael Richards, Charlie Sheen, and others that have said something unruly or unnecessary or done something unnecessary, but if it's Hollywood, they'll just go away.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll come back slowly and then just reinvent themselves. But then everywhere else in society, it's cancel culture. Like, boom, you did a mistake when you were 16. You can't do anything.
A good example of that is Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
I just rewatched the Expendables, the movies again.
Okay. Yeah.
And I forgot he popped up in the third one, and I was thinking, like, yeah, he's got actually quite a few movies that are coming out and have been out in the last little while. And I remember, early 2000s, a lot of stuff going on with him, and
yeah,
he's still working.
Yeah, people will forget. People will forget.
And again, I guess it depends on probably your track record from before, like if you're a big enough movie star that people are willing to just give you a pass.
Would you say that Mel Gibson was a big enough movie star? I won't say
not at the
80s.
time this started.
Yeah,
but he was
like Lethal Weapon.
Yeah,
he was
Lethal Weapon. Braveheart.
Yeah.
Ransom, and then he kind of found a different audience when he did What Women Want, and some of the comedies. And stuff.
That was a good movie. What Women Want.
So I think maybe if you'd done enough so far long ago that it's almost like ingrained in our our youth that we remember, like, oh, I remember this guy doing this. This is what happened. No, I don't see that. And then you just don't tend not to believe things and give them a pass.
That's right. Give him another shot.
I guess kind of like what would may or may not happen with this Johnny Depp stuff like 10 years from now.
Man, I was asking Jade today. I just don't and I'm not being facetious or anything. I don't understand why it's being televised or why it's. I don't understand what makes this so much more polarizing than any other Hollywood actor and actress.
Well,
that
it's televised
separated.
because he requested it to be. After
Oh.
that I can't speak for why
Oh,
people
he
on this camp.
requested to be televised.
He did.
Interesting.
I guess play the public in his favor or against him, however it turns out.
Yeah, some of the clips are pretty funny. And SNL in their opening skit did a mock-up of it this past week, which was pretty good. I just don't get, like, I mean, I say that, and then I think of times when I bitch about, there's only bad things on TV, like, wars or viruses or whatever. Like, there's just this, this is, I guess, a good distraction. You could argue anyway.
Yeah.
Versus the regular grim and awful news that we hear what seems like daily. So
yeah, watching celebrities fight amongst themselves.
Hoorah!
Although I did read that because he was supposed to have, I guess, continued his role as Jack Sparrow until all this stuff happened, and apparently now they want to continue the franchise with Margot Robbie.
With Margot Robbie?
Yeah. No, I guess not as Jack, but I guess like a soft reboot almost sequel. I don't know.
Jacqueline Sparrow?
Maybe. I don't think she's as bankable as people think she is.
Mm-mm. No.
She was in that Scorsese movie, right? Wolf of Wall Street, right? That was like her big foray into the limelight here. And then like her movie with Will Smith, but Focus, didn't do anything.
Never saw it. Was she in American Hustle?
American Hustle.
Or
I think that was Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, right. It was Jennifer Lawrence. Okay.
Yeah, she's 3 bouts as Harley Quinn. The first Suicide Squad did all right, but I guess that I think has more to do with Will Smith than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Birds of Prey. She's a bunch of indie
flops.
Yeah. And I guess Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but that's Quentin. People are going for Quentin movies. They're not going really for the cast.
No, and I mean Brad Pitt was in that movie and Leo. So yeah, you can throw.
And it was also about the Manson family too. So.
Oh, it was based on true story too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or inspired rather. Yeah. Like, okay, then maybe I can see him wanting to televise it then if he lost that role in that franchise, because let's be honest, it's a franchise that has made a ton of money,
billions and billions.
They're good movies, right? Like, I think they're good movies for the most part. I don't remember the last one, but
I think that's the one I haven't seen. Maybe the last 2.
Which one is the Black Pearl?
First one.
Okay, yeah. What was the second and the last one then?
Dead Man's Chest.
Okay, maybe that was one.
And then At World's End and the other 2, I can't remember the name of the movies.
Yeah. Well, let's hope
they were great.
Yeah, let's hope Johnny
don't remember what they're called or if I saw any of them, but they were good.
Yeah, I remember there were pirates. There was a lot of oceanfront
and boats,
a lot of sand and boats and cannons, jaundice,
people yelling starboard, and
scurvy. There's a lot of all that shit.
Rum.
Yeah, in a clear bottle. Anyway,
because it's just water.
That's right.
Or is it
dirty water?
So we never actually got to sit down and discuss one particular big time movie that came out. That was No Way Home. We've talked about
haven't seen it.
The adjacent movies like Doctor Strange Dose. But we didn't get into this one.
Saw it twice. Second time was a few weeks back.
Spider-Man No Way Home, the third and the Sony Marvel team up movies with Tom Holland. This one follows picks up right after was it Far From Home? I think
So
so many home titles.
Yeah, Far From Home, like minutes after Far From Home.
Yeah, so Peter Parker's identities, spoilers, he's Spider-Man. And now the world knows he's Spider-Man after Mysterio, which we talked about last week with the Multiverse of Madness. And we deal with the fallout of his identity being revealed to about the halfway point of the movie.
Yeah.
Then it's kind of just like pushed aside.
Very quickly. I mean, even half the movie, I would say, is a generous
okay.
Time that you gave that. Before we jump into it, what was your how was it for you in all the various trailers and TV spots and whatnot? Like, how did you do? How did you want to do? Like, were you okay with just watching everything, or were you trying your best to keep things as a surprise? And
no, I'm at the point now with Marvel where I can watch a trailer because I say 5 times out of 10, half of what I'm going to see in it, they're not going to have in the movie anymore. Like Infinity War really opened my eyes to that when there's that shot of everybody running through the forest and Hulk's in it. But as you know, Hulk is only in like the first 5 minutes of the movie and it's Banner the rest of the way. So I'm kind of used to them throwing curves.
Even with the fact that there were potential cameos, you don't see them on the screen here, and we'll get to that shortly, but obviously there were rumors about what they were trying to do with this movie and who they were trying to bring back into the franchise. So did that try and entice you to limit what you've seen of the movie before it came out?
No,
or were you still not giving a shit?
No, I wasn't giving a shits.
Okay.
Because again, and then definitely with what we talked about leading up to Doctor Strange, with like how many times are these rumors just in fact that, or they're in it, but then they're not actually in it, or it's gonna be this guy, but it's actually somebody else.
Okay, that's fair. I tried to avoid as much as I could. I would say I tried harder with Doctor Strange 2 than I did with this one. But I still did try to avoid watching the trailers. I think I might have seen the first 2 trailers. But I did make a point that every time there was a TV spot that came on, I would just change the channel or mute it.
I will say this though, like the TV spots for both movies were the worst for that. Like the trailers, like they show, like obviously they give you the first teaser doesn't really give you much in the way of what you to expect. But the second one obviously gives you more of the story, but the TV spots are just like, we want you to come, so we're just going to tell you what's in it.
So what was your overall opinion of the movies without getting into too much detail or whatever, like diving into specific scenes and unpacking those? What was your overall thoughts in the movie? And then I'll go after you.
The first viewing versus second viewing, or just
whichever,
all encompassing?
Yeah, all encompassing.
So this came out in December, so having seen it a few times now, my overall feeling is this one I feel as though it was designed just for fan service and fan service alone. Obviously you have the nuggets of where Marvel wants to go with their next phase. I just find everything else seemed to be like, you know what? Let's just do this for everybody and we'll see how it lands. And then go from there. Like, especially when you watch it multiple viewings, you start to really find the massive plot holes and way they kind of shoehorn things in to try to have it work. But in doing so, like you say a line, but that line doesn't account for half the characters are in this scene. You say a different line, that doesn't count for the other half of characters are in this scene. And then you have another line that ends up getting touched upon at the end, which then negates what he says in one scene that happened earlier in the movie. You're starting to see the wires here. And then you hear like, oh, yeah, we were shooting this, but then I didn't like it, so we decided to take a break and go rewrite it and then come back and shoot it. And like, okay, well now we're figuring out here is that you guys are bit off a little bit more than you could handle. Not to say I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, I would have to say that for the most part, I agree with everything you said. I feel that as a movie, it was a good, enjoyable movie. There were scenes that made me jump out of my seat, especially the first viewing, but even still the second viewing, just from the warm and fuzzies that it gave me. I felt that it also gave the opportunity for certain characters that were portrayed in previous movies the opportunity to redeem themselves. Specifically, like 2 or 3 different characters that showed up, but overall, I felt that it was just a bunch of fan service. I felt that they did. I almost feel like you'd said that they moved the agenda for the overall phase forward, but only by a little bit. And I feel that that's the truth. I feel it was a unique opportunity for them to bring the other characters in from the different multiverses, but as soon as that happened, it was like, boom, okay, that's done. We're going to focus on the characters, and that's it. And they didn't give as much time as they probably should have, and maybe they were thinking that the time they didn't provide to talk about the multiverse and how things happen and the ramifications of the spell that Strange did, they felt that they were going to address it in Doctor Strange and in the Madness movie, the second one.
That's right.
Whether they did or not, and that's, I guess, a different opinion. I'll have to watch or listen to last week's episode. But there were, as I said, there were a few movies or a few scenes, that just I literally almost cried. Just from thinking about 20 years of history of this character and where he started and where it's at now. So I think overall I enjoyed it. But yes, I did notice that it was just for fan service. And I will say this about every Marvel movie that now comes out. If you spend enough time thinking about it, you will punch holes in the plot very easily, as if it were a wet paper bag. So you just have to... I
find it wasn't like that before.
No, it wasn't. And I feel before they were really trying to earn the respect of being the first universe to tell a cohesive story across multiple different properties and then bring it all together at the end. Once they achieved that, I think they're like, well, we now have got the respect that we deserve, so we're going to take a few liberties and we're going to just put trust in trust in the viewers that they will buy what we're selling. And in some cases, that's the truth. I know, but in other cases, it's like, okay, like if you spend enough time thinking about it, you will go Mike Tyson all over it, circa 1986.
Part of me feels, though, now it's fitting, is that this kind of started around when they first brought Spider-Man into the fold, because right after the opening of Homecoming, where you have Keaton's Adrian Toomes, obviously doing cleanup after the Battle of New York and before Damage Control comes in. It ends with a title card that says 8 years later. But the MCU timeline puts this movie 6 years. So, I think that's kind of where things tended to. That's a very easy... you guys should have caught this.
Yeah, no, and that's one of the more blatant ones too. It's like, okay,
yeah, it's boom right there on the screen.
Yeah,
I can freeze frame and go, what?
Yeah.
So maybe Peter Parker is the problem.
So where do you want to start with this? So it takes place right after the events of Far From Home. Yep. Peter's identity is revealed. It's broadcasted everywhere. People start coming to the apartment. The helicopters for the news channel start hovering over. FBI comes. They take him into to question him about the events with Mysterio at the end of the previous movie, and then they go right back to his house. I can't remember if it was before or after the first day of school, but they're in his house, and then boom, we're hit with the first cameo of a few for 10 seconds.
Yep.
A cameo being Charlie Cox's Daredevil from the Netflix series, which is amazing.
Sum up all his legal problems with, it's taken care of.
Exactly. Yeah. So again, there's Exhibit A of fan service where here's what everybody's been clamoring for. We've now confirmed because this was after or during Hawkeye, when Hawkeye was out. I'm trying to think of what happened first, Kingpin or Daredevil, and I want to say it was Daredevil first, because if it was Kingpin, then it would have confirmed everything. So
it was Hawkeye first, because
that's but what about the episode though? But the episode where Kingpin was revealed,
I think it was almost like organically, because they dropped him on Wednesdays.
Okay.
So it was probably, we got the reference to Kingpin probably like the Wednesday before previews for this was like the Thursday.
Yeah, the big guy.
Yeah. But yeah, then also like in No Way Home, they have like a billboard while he's web swinging for that Rogers musical. That's another tie into that. Obviously, the endings at Christmas, which is also Hawkeye.
I did like how Matt though caught the brick.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. And then Peter was like, "What the?" And for those that read comics, or know of the comic history between those two, they're very close. They're very close friends. So they, it would be really nice in the future if they explored that relationship even further as more street level characters within the greater MCU. But that was the first cameo.
Yep.
That was the first cameo. What would you give that? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
I was all for that.
Yeah, okay, good.
That show was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was.
Like, I know obviously now that they move those characters to the MCU, we'll lose some of what we got with that show, obviously, because they're gonna lighten it up as much as little as they obviously can to make it.
I hope we don't lose Iron Fist, so I hope they can somehow bring Iron Fist.
Never,
no. So he then goes to ask Doctor Strange after being in the cafe that Mary Jane works at, notices that she hadn't taken down the Halloween decorations, and one of the decorations is very reminiscent of a cowled or caped Dracula. Well, there's a Dracula, and it reminds him of Doctor Strange, so he goes and sees him. This is where I first got confused with Wong being the Sorcerer Supreme.
Because even that's just a line, and you move on with it.
Because I missed that. Was that just was that established in No Way Home, or was it before?
Yeah, it was like literally another throwaway line about like how Wong is Sorcerer Supreme, and he says, "Oh, well, you're like dusted for 5 years. Somebody had to do it." And then there you go. Move along. We have too much other stuff to go over.
Now, I did feel as though something was up with Doctor Strange.
Yeah, everybody
the first few scenes, because he was a bit more like loosey-goosey. Maybe he was on some pain meds from his recent battle with Thanos. He had loose lips, but he was not as stoic as he normally is.
No, he's Mephisto.
Yeah, he's Mephisto, and he's throwing, whatever he threw. He started the fire. Boom.
That's right.
Did all that. I found it to be a bit odd, and for nothing at the end of the day.
Yeah, for nothing. It was a little misdirect.
He's a bit of a little bitch with Spider-Man, though, with Peter, if I must say. Like when he was doing the spell and whatnot. It just
take it to at the end. It's the polar opposite of like the ending scene with the two of them is a complete 180 of how they were for 3/4 of their interactions throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, especially I would agree. Okay, so we skip ahead. They do the scene, and this is where we start to see a few things different in the universe. And the second cameo, I guess the second major cameo, would be none other than Alfred Molina's Otto Octavius from.
Well, I think even before that, we got the Danny Elfman score. The theme of
yes. The one where you knew it was coming.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts when you saw Alfred Molina? I mean, I'm assuming that you knew that he was going to be in the movie, because I think that was the one character where
that was the one they showed, and then the next one is also what was referenced. I loved it. I thought it was great that they brought him back, but then my mind kind of took me out. I'm like, so how are they going to explain this?
Yeah,
because again, as we know, as a character that was dead, figured, I guess, seemingly based on how that second movie ended. So okay, so you have a character that's dead, but he's alive here. So is it going to be the same one, or just a version of plucked from somewhere?
Didn't they answer that though?
They do later, yeah. But at the time, when I'm just okay, let's see where this is going. So I'll be and then we get their brief fight, and then it's revealed that this Peter Parker, while he's coming to fight, is not his Peter Parker, and then things get interesting.
Yeah, and so Alfred Molina proved once again that out of every Spider-Man movie that's been made since Tobey Maguire's first one, he is the best casted villain in any movie, in my opinion. I think he played that character so amazing. I'm saying that out loud now, and then I'm thinking, oh shit, well, there is the next one. But like
no, I get it. Well, I'll defend your argument when we discuss the next one.
Okay. But yeah, like I really enjoyed. I was in the moment, and I was feeling very nostalgic. And I think there's the next point of why this was fan service, because when I was watching that scene, like it brought me right back to like 2002, 2003 or 4, pardon me, when that came out in my younger Sprite days. But then I started to think about why is it that every other variant looks the same? Oh no, but I guess he's not a variant. He's
a version.
This is where
transported.
Right. Okay. Maybe it was later in the movie that I was thinking about that, but we'll get to that later. Just with the variants of characters in general. Okay, next one.
So as you see in the poster there, Dr. Norman Osborn.
Amazing.
Willem Dafoe shows up in his classic Power Ranger outfit, Green Ranger.
Yeah, his techno outfit.
So yeah, I figure you're going to go from perfectly cast Alfred Molina to Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin. He did not get really the opportunity to really show off his chops in the first one because of that emotionless mask that he wore. Couldn't emote. Everything was done through his voice. And like that one scene where in the first Spider-Man where Peter and Gobby are talking on the roof, it's literally like two action figures are just standing there having a conversation because nobody's mouth moves.
100%.
And then they open, like, let his shutters open. You can see his eyes for a little bit, but that's all you got.
And it's just to that part when he falls back to him and then he hits him on the shoulder. You and I, and they're just not moving. Yeah.
So like he didn't really get to. Obviously, you have to do a little bit of it where he's talking to himself in a mirror, but as the Goblin, he didn't really get to do all that much in that movie.
Yeah.
But he's still. You can play a crazy man. Well.
Okay. You can.
In this one, he's more of a... Yeah, not even just a man at a time. He's seemingly someone who doesn't remember who he is. Or no, not who he is. He knows who he is, but he's a man at a time knowing that his life that he was prior to this convergence or whatever doesn't exist. That throws him for a loop.
Yeah. When he came, I was genuinely surprised, but I was also immediately reminded, like, oh, I don't like this suit.
Yeah.
And I never liked this suit. And
No.
I somehow was successful in throwing that suit out of my mind. And it just came right back. And I was like, oh, that took me right out of it. But I feel as though the studio or, Watson, like directors and the writing teams and whatnot, they recognize that, because I'd say within a few minutes or the first few scenes with him, the mask gets broken. He wears the hoodie and it's got purple, and I was like, okay, that's
we're going somewhere.
That's Gobby. That's the Green Goblin. And he was fucking amazing in this role, I found.
Gave him an opportunity to shine.
Yeah, and I feel like, and they didn't really, in the first movie, they did a lot of things wrong, and I can't really blame them, Sony, because it was the first Spider-Man movie. They didn't really know the success that it would be, and it turned out to be a juggernaut of a successful movie, that so much so that they made 2 others afterwards. But they didn't really show the true strength of Goblin, and I think they did it justice here, like both mentally, physically. They showed the strength of him as truly Peter's, most frightful foe in his rogues gallery. And every time he was on the screen, I wanted to see more of him on the screen, and I didn't want the scene to end, which is pretty amazing for a Spider-Man movie, like when there's so many other characters that are being portrayed.
Yeah, to your point, because what they did, I think, with the first one is they spend more time not trying to redeem him, but to have his better side show. This one took the opportunity to emphasize and strengthen up the side that just doesn't give a fuck, like the psycho, well, not the psycho, but the psychosis of the Goblin. Like, let him shine. The ruthlessness of that mentality of I guess the Goblin serum that he took, that took over his brain and completely made a whole new personality that's not Norman Osborn at all. Like, let him joker out, let him just be free, and then you get the ruthlessness. You get there's no soul behind this version of Norman.
There really isn't.
No.
And he's chaotic, and I don't like, what was his goal? Like, was it clearly explained that he wanted to stay in this universe, or I don't really know. He just wanted to cause chaos, which I think is typically what the Goblin does, right? So, you
want to fix us? Like, we don't need to be fixed.
Yeah. Rounding out the villains that were
the Sensational Five.
Yeah. Yeah. We had what's his name? Hayden Church.
Thomas Hayden Church.
Thomas Hayden Church as Sandman. We had Jamie Foxx as Electro, and then we had I don't know the guy that played Lizard, because I never saw that movie.
The
English guy.
Yeah, Fiennes. His last name, I can't remember.
Ralph, was it Ralph Fiennes? No,
close though.
Rafe.
Yes.
Is it Rafe? That was
that
was a guess if it was.
It's one of those, it's spelt a certain way that it's the Welsh and the Gaelic names that are spelled so different than how they're pronounced.
So what did you think of those characters?
Like, knowing that the actors weren't available and that basically they spent the whole time CG, they're background fodder, more or less. Especially Lizard.
He didn't really have a part.
No, he's already captured.
Reese Ifans.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Like, his first introduction, he's already captured by Doctor Strange, and then when they're at Happy's condo, he just stays in the van. And then he shows up for the final battle. That's really all he got.
So
and Jamie Foxx is Electro.
yeah, like I was looking at the Lizard's character, and I mean, I have no attachment to that character because I
Like
believe
from the
that's
comics too, or
no from the movies. Like I feel as though that was from Webb's first Amazing Spider-Man, right? Like it wasn't from the sequel. Okay,
I think
that
like
movie
they had
I saw.
a lot of him on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that movie through all the way to the end. I do remember seeing probably like I'd say 75% of the film. And then the second one with Electro, probably same thing. I might have seen like half of it. I never finished it. So I don't have a lot of attachment to that character. So I really didn't give a shit about him when he was on the screen. So I wonder if that sentiment is true for a large number of people, and that being the reason why they introduced him into the movie, like in the cage, and didn't really have much of a purpose. Like even when they're in the apartment shortly following, he was in the friggin' van the entire time. And I guess you can kind of explain that away by saying, yes, he is a lizard. He would draw a lot of attention. But fuck me if a guy with 6 octopus arms and a Sandman wouldn't cause just as much attention. So I just found that it was like why couldn't they have done yeah, I mean, I'm kind of nitpicking here, but it's like, why couldn't they have maybe introduced the Craven as someone who wanted to hunt Spider-Man because he was exposed, as his identity was exposed, and then he could have been that, fifth or sixth villain.
This then goes into the whole plot holes. Like if it's anybody who knows, like again, not to jump ahead again, but like we have these characters who died at different points in time are brought back to this universe. Which again, we're dealing with multiverse. I don't know. We're also dealing with time travel in this same instance of these. Like one died in 2002, one died in 2004. It's 2023 in this current timeline.
Did the lizard die in the Mark Webb movie? No,
and that's the part that goes into the plot, as you notice later, where Doctor Strange in the trailer says they all died fighting Spider-Man. Like he didn't. Electro, as far as I could tell from that movie, didn't. But they're brought back.
Yeah. Again, maybe I think exhibit 17 of fan service and 19 of plot holes that you can poke through. I just don't know why they wouldn't have tried that much harder to maybe make a Sinister Six instead of a Sensational Five. It just
that was one had thing, Mysterio still been alive.
That's what, and because again, you could have done that because you brought Molina, Doc Ock back from moments before his death, and Green Goblin as well. So why couldn't you have done it with Mysterio? But that was one thing that I couldn't take myself out of. Not to say that it ruined the whole movie experience both times, but I think more so the second time I watched it, I was thinking to myself, they've done all of these things that were specific for fan service. Why couldn't you have just like Spider-Man is the most well-known character to have a Sinister Six. Other characters have their rogues gallery, but the Sinister Six, like the quantity, the team that takes on Spider-Man, it's well established. So why not just like fucking take that one extra step and just throw in a sixth character? And I don't get it. I don't get it. And I mean, Mysterio would have been a pretty awesome one. I don't care that he.
Well, or bring back Michael Keaton's Vulture. Not even that he's in a different universe. Maybe he just got out of prison and was joining the fun.
Yeah, you know what? That reminds me. Actually, whatever came of Matt Gargan at the end scene of Homecoming.
That too. Like here we are, 2 movies later, and that's never addressed.
Honest to God, it's like, we'll just throw him. We'll throw him under the rug, save him for a rainy day.
Which they'll probably do with older Sony Spider-Man movies.
So yeah, like overall, I'd say I mean, it was really Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina that really propped up the villain side of the cameos.
Yeah, and we have the heroes cameos.
Okay, so when Ned, pardon me, when he opened up that first portal at his mother's house or grandmother's
Because
house.
apparently, it's so easy to spring portals with a sling ring.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he's got magic in him.
Yeah.
I didn't know about Andrew Garfield, and so when he walked through, I just in the theater. I remember in the theater, just like, holy shit, and
yeah.
I was just absolutely amazed, and I mean, I could get into what my thoughts are about his part in this movie, or if we want to mention the next one after, we can do that. I'm not sure where you want to go.
Go nuts.
Well, what was your thoughts when he came through that portal?
I liked them. Like, I didn't like those movies when they came out, but watching them, I watched them again before No Way Home, and I think Andrew Garfield is the best Peter Parker.
Yeah.
I would say probably of the three, he's also the best of the Spider-Man, because he's a guy who, if you watch those movies, he's the one that's having the most fun. Mm-hmm. As bad as those movies are, he's having fun. You can tell he's happy. I think the Raimi movies were of the portrayals of Spider-Man, personally, I think is the closest to the comics, because that's the only one to date that's had to sacrifice something.
Yeah.
And Holland, just the look and the age, he fits it perfectly for what they're going for.
Yeah.
So when Garfield came out, I'm like, oh, great. And then it showed too that, again, as small as the role is here, and this could very well be the last time he gets to do it, you can tell he's having a good time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, he completely, and I don't even want to say redeemed himself. And again, I've already said it, like, I never watched his movies all the way through to the end, but I saw enough of them to see him as both Spider-Man and Peter Parker. And I have to agree with you, like, he was the best. He was the most believable. He was the happiest.
And the one had a Queen's accent.
Yeah, and that too. But the franchise fell flat on its face, so he never really had an opportunity to finish off what he started. And quite frankly, what he was carrying for those two films, like he carried those movies. Villains were bad. Mm-hmm. Emma Stone was a good Gwen Stacy in those films, I felt, but everything outside of those two characters,
the two of them together,
it was like, done.
That's all you need.
So for him in this movie, I felt it. You knew he wanted to do this. It clearly looked like he wanted to do this. He, immersed himself in that role. His timing was great. Yeah, he redeemed himself at the end with MJ. But as soon as I saw him coming through that portal and another one open up, I was like, wow.
Here we go.
Okay, here we go. Here's the big one. Daddy's and that's where I almost lost it, and I started welling up. And it's not so much because they were like my favorite movies.
No, it's because he's old and we're old now.
But you know what? Like,
old.
Yeah, he looked old, and
so we are now really old too.
But it's also, for me, it brought me back to like holy shit, when this first movie, like when this movie first came out, and we could talk about Blade being the first one, but really this was truly this and the X-Men were the first two franchises that really propelled the world that we're living in today, with all of the properties that we get to see on a yearly basis.
This was the living embodiment of everything we wanted and were into as kids. Like, this was validating what us geeks and nerds knew, what everybody else thought was ridiculous.
Yep. And so when he came through, it was amazing.
Yeah, I was 16 in 2002 again watching this.
Yeah, and it was nice too, because I like, he was obviously older, and you have Tom Holland, who's the youngest. You have a middle-aged one with or not middle-aged. I'd say maybe Tobey Maguire was more middle-aged, but then you have kind of Andrew in the middle, and I felt it was a very nice blend of the various Spider-Men that we see. Like Into the Spider-Verse was the first time we'd seen the different versions of Spider-Man, or at least some of us, not some of us have, but Peter B. Parker, like you can really now. I was thinking to myself, okay, well, what universe is Toby's Spider-Man from? Like, I'd be interested, like, to confirm, is that the one where do they have a daughter? Like, just all of these different questions that I wanted to ask myself. Like, do they have Spinneret, which is I think the daughter of Mary Jane and Spider-Man. But yeah, like it made me just think of so many different things where like now I want to go back and I want them to make a fourth movie with Toby, and would he do it? Right. So
the money's there. I'm sure people will do it.
But I also like just the whole like the chemistry between the three Spider-Men. The timing,
it's like it looked like three brothers hanging out.
100%. Like, and the comedic timing of Andrew, and there was that old when Tobey Maguire. There was a risk at the time that Tobey couldn't play Spider-Man because he injured his back, and they were going to replace him with Gyllenhaal, I think it was.
Yeah.
And they made a call out to that.
Yeah, he's got a back thing, a lower back thing.
Yeah. So it was awesome. Like it was just seeing the three of them together was great. And even just like the little comedic touches when they're in the chemistry lab and Ned says Peter and they're all like, yeah, Peter Parker. Yeah. It's Spider-Man.
So, we're all named Peter.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was I really enjoyed every time the three of them were on the screen.
And then we get to the big battle, everybody.
Yeah.
And then, so again, the whole point of redeeming this, the whole crux of dealing with these villains is trying to redeem them and send them back, which, again, plot hole city. Because it's like these guys are, like I said, we have Defoe's Goblin taken back from the moment he died. We have Melina. So what you're saying is effectively these guys are going to get redeemed, go back to the moment they're supposed to die, and then die redeemed.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't like that part. Even then, I couldn't wrap my head around. I still can't.
I often wonder if they went with the whole redeeming plot point because they couldn't write their way out of bringing them in. Like, okay, so we have a great idea where we can bring them into our universe because we can use spells and we can piggyback off of Loki and get them here. But how are we going to get them back? And I think there could have been another answer than trying to redeem, because that's the thing. If you pick away at the plot too much, to your point, if you send back Doc Octopus redeemed at the moment where he's on the
redeeming
water,
himself,
like trying to control, he's
like legit redeeming himself in that moment.
Well, yeah, that's true. Like
I don't.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I just don't know how that works, that part.
Well, I think I said to Michelle, like, all I think he really had to do was just cut the line where he says they all died, and maybe just have it where they all escape and you're trying to round them up, and rather than round them up and put them back in a cell, you round them up and send them back.
Yeah. But then you know what Disney said, they're like, we don't give a fuck. We're gonna make $1 billion off of this.
Like almost like what they're doing with Loki. Like you just prune them and send them where the hell they have to go.
Yeah.
That's all they had to do.
Yeah.
Would have eliminated a whole big, we're fixing these guys to send them back to die.
It was nice though, where they kind of left the movie open towards the end, where he's back to his roots. Yeah, he's back to his roots. He's moving into a crummy apartment. He's got a few things in his possession. He made his own suit, which, by the way, was the best suit of any of the films, hands down. In that,
still have not established how any of these guys learn
Find
to
it.
sew.
Yeah, or get the material. You know, there's a character in the comics, and I can't remember his name, but he's a reformed villain in the Spider-Verse that makes suits for all of the heroes. Daredevil.
Not by chance the
Spider-Man.
same character that's in Daredevil.
Could be. I can't remember.
I can't remember his name, but that's basically how Matt finds it, right? It's the guy who makes all the suits for Fisk.
Yeah.
He makes him his
Okay.
Daredevil suit.
Okay. Maybe it could be. I can't remember. I need to rewatch that.
Could be the same. It could be just the same idea. A coincidence.
But I did like how he's back to his roots, and it got me thinking, like, okay, well, like, does he do one more, or is this like, you know, that maybe this is a perfect opportunity for them to introduce Miles in the next movie, and then they have Tom Holland do maybe one movie with Miles, and they do like the warm handoff for another trilogy. Like, I don't know.
What do you think of the ending where he decides to have basically everyone's mind wiped? Basically, do the original spell that was going to be cast.
I mean, it was this Peter's sacrifice that he made.
I was just saying that's finally he had a sacrifice.
Yeah, because, you know, we didn't talk about Aunt May dying, but she did, and she needed to in order for him to make the sacrifice in a different way than the way that Tobey Maguire's did. But yeah, that was his sacrifice that he needed to make. And I think even when they were in the cafe and he was he bought that coffee and he was gonna, you know, see Ned and MJ and tell her, and he decided not to. You could feel the pain in the character.
Yeah, when she says that line, when he asks her what happened to her head, and she says, "Oh, I don't remember, but it doesn't hurt anymore." And then you see the light bulb goes off on his head.
That's
right.
I
caused that, and if I don't tell you, you won't have another thing like that.
And I love that scene because I think that was a very true depiction of Peter Parker in that moment. Not to say that he didn't have other moments.
Yeah, just like he stares and he gets welling up in the eyes, and and he just goes back in the pocket and see you around, and out he goes. Yeah,
I tried to to be honest, I haven't seen any like Easter egg reveals of the movie or whatnot, but I'm just curious if when we saw like all of the purple electricity in the sky when Strange was doing his spell, I wonder if there was any like Easter eggs that maybe we missed, or at least that I missed.
Well, I know some folks are saying if you look at the like silhouettes of the bodies that are in the sky, if you look close enough, those you can see like references to other Spider-Man villains. Like one looked like a rhino, one kind of looked like it could have been Kraven.
Oh, that's cool.
I didn't really like. I look at him like, oh, I can kind of get it. There was one Easter egg they said that when he's first casting your spell, you see that when he pulls his hands up, he's got 3 like circles stacked up on each other, which is what He Who Remains, basically when he's describing the multiversal war, shows that same.
Shows that same one, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find that when you watch Marvel movies now that you look for Easter eggs, or do you find that you're still able to just go into the movie and enjoy it?
Yeah, I don't think I do that anymore. I think what I do is I watch, and then I'll go back and see what people mentioned, and then I'll look for it the second time.
Yeah. Like I found,
because otherwise it's gonna be like when you're watching like a horror movie and someone's standing there and you're looking around to see if you can find the person who's hiding, and like, oh, there's the ghost face killer. He's behind the curtain. And it takes you out. It takes you out of the movie.
It does. It does. I admit that when I was watching Doctor Strange, there were moments where I was looking for Easter eggs, especially when he was on the different multiverses.
Yeah, like I'm sure when I like that's high def, you're gonna be like freeze frame playing, so it's like frame by frame to see like oh, I'm sure that character was in there, and someone's gonna do it. I'm sure there was tons in that jump from universe to universe. That
I'm sure
something everybody missed.
Yeah, they're like there wasn't much that I noticed with this. Like there was one in the scene when they're sitting on top of the roof. I saw Ditko spray painted on the back wall
Oh, yeah.
of the ceiling. So that's obviously a call out to Steve Ditko, who was the first, co-creator of Spider-Man with Stan Lee. But nothing major outside of that. So I'll have to keep looking, I guess, for the third time, because I will see this movie again. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Like I said, at the end of the day, I really enjoyed this movie. I felt that there were moments where the fan service was a bit much, and that took over the story of the movie. But I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy some of that fan service that they made for us.
You giving a rating, a star rating, or a 10 out of 10 rating?
What did we do for Doctor Strange? Did we do? Five?
I think it was stars. Yeah,
5 stars. Okay, I will give this.
I had a 4.5 my first viewing, so then I'd say a 4 second, so average 4.25.
4.25. Okay. First one, I will go out of 5. I'll go 4.25.
Okay.
And then second one, I will go 4.5. Yeah, I think I enjoyed it a bit more the second time. Yeah.
So before we wrap up, the fun fact. So the original ending for the movie that was planned was Peter's identity was still going to be public, but Tom Holland hated it. So then they rewrote it to the one where everybody forgets who he is.
Interesting.
I don't know if that would have been better.
So
like everyone knows who he is, but then he would have like Ned and MJ just, you guys go away.
Okay, so
which is kind of a closer sacrifice to kind of what they did in Spider-Man 2 with MJ, where like, you know, she wants to be with him. She knows, like, she still doesn't know that he's Spider-Man, but he just knows that he can't be with her because of
you can't do that.
Everything.
No.
So this one, having everybody forget and clean slate, like you said, was definitely, I think, the better of the two choices.
Oh, for sure.
And it fits better. This one doesn't. This one just sounds like, well, let's write it. Well, okay. Well, he just tells them to fuck off.
So yeah. So if they went the original one where everybody still knew he was Peter Parker except for MJ and Ned, that would have been fucking stupid. Because how do you explain yourself out of that? It's like, oh, these are the only two people in the world that don't have a social media account, that live under a rock, or don't have any friends to talk to, because it's impossible for that to keep going. But yeah, like I got the ending of the movie was almost like they had tried to not reset because it was bad, but just reset Spider-Man, you know, just so that for whatever reason, if there's a fourth one or whatever, you can pick up from the ground level and you can just go back to basics kind of thing. And part of that going back to basics is that no one can know that you're Spider-Man.
Yeah, and it's easy for them to continue on without having Spider-Man at all in the MCU, which I think was probably what the original idea was.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we'll do this. We finish the movies. Now people don't know who he is. They don't have to worry about him showing up. And if they do, well, then they know Spider-Man. Then they'll relearn who Peter Parker is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed this movie. 4.25, 4.5 the second time. I'd be curious to see if it changes the third time after our conversation, because I haven't really had an in-depth. What's that?
Somehow it drops to a 1.
Yeah,
I don't know what I did.
0.5. But we did watch. We have 2 more episodes to watch of Moon Knight, so I'll be interested to hear your thoughts when I'm able to finish that, hopefully this week. So
yeah, we're back. We have either talk that, or depending on when we are scheduled to see Top Gun Maverick, we'll go to that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we'll cut it off there.
Sprinkle in some
rad,
some other.
Yeah, we got some summer plans.
Some doozies.
All right, well, let's cut it there because you, sir, have a busy day tomorrow. So
I do.
End it now and get a rest. All right, for Steve, this is Corey.
Leaf suck.
Casual.